name is Susan Ulrich, and I serve this congregation as the minister here at the Unitarian Society of New Haven. It's my privilege to welcome you to this service honoring the life of Lindsay Korth. So thanks to each of you for your presence. We'll begin by lighting the chalice, symbol of hope that unites Unitarian Universalists across space and time. We gather together this afternoon as one community bound by loss and united by gratitude to be among those whose lives Lindsay touched. At every memorial service, I make a practice of sharing some important things about grief. First, there's no single way to grieve. It may show up as sadness or anger or regret or despair or perhaps all of these at once. Doesn't follow a tidy pattern. You may get overtaken by tears or shut down by numbness. We may want to find ourselves wanting to share a story and then remember with shock that our loved one is gone. Grief ebbs and flows, and each of us must find our way through. The task of grief is paradoxical. To hold on to the legacy that has been gifted to us, and at the same time to honor fully the depth of what we've lost. The hand that cups gently is the same as the hand that releases. We also need to know that when we lose someone we love, it brings back every other loss we've suffered, like the strings in the piano resonating when a bass drum plays in the same room. Though each of us needs time to grieve alone, we also need to return to our communities of family and friends. Because however beautiful the single voice may be, it's the harmonies that swell our hearts. Today, we gather our voices to strengthen each other in our grief, to hold this family in the midst of their loss, and to be reminded that life is indeed a fragile gift. I invite you into a moment of meditation, prayer, or contemplation of ultimate things. Spirit of love and compassion, come. Be with us as we celebrate the life of Lindsay Korth. Hold in your tender embrace those who have gathered here today, as well as those who could not be present. Offer them comfort and protect the spark of hope that in its own time will once again burn brightly. Blessed be.
Hearing it every time I do that. I just want to thank all the family and friends coming here to celebrate Lindsay's extraordinary life. This is actually the third celebration of her life that we've had. The first was immediately after Lindsay passed, late in the afternoon of May 2nd. Her 3 children and their 2 spouses and I went out in the front yard, built a bonfire, and with plenty of champagne and bourbon, we told stories, we sang, we howled at the moon. And exhausted with laughter and tears, I slept soundly next to her for the last time. The second was 2 weeks ago in Michigan at a cottage that belonged to Lindsay's grandparents and that she'd gone to all of her life. Some summers, spending whole summers up there. And once I entered the family, every holiday, we were up there with her extended family. And this was sort of an extension on that because we had, all of her family was there and 8 of her friends going her collective and political anti-war years. So these people actually known Lindsay longer than I had. I had only known her after I helped get her out of jail, locking the Warren tank plant in Michigan. But that's another story. We're gonna go in there. What followed actually is from the comments I made at that memorial. So you see some history going on in there. As I said it to them, I said that most of you knew Lindsay longer than I have. And we would have celebrated our 45th anniversary 2 weeks from today, or October 2nd, whatever. So in about 2 weeks. So I had known her for a long time, close to 50 years, but these people have known her longer. And I said to them, so since most of you knew Lindsay so long, it will not come as a surprise to you when I say that living with Lindsay was not always easy. But we had our ups and downs, but we had a wonderful life with 3 wonderful children. Lindsay had a toast that I think epitomized her approach to life. We would clink our wine glasses together and toast each other with a curiosity, which is sort of the driving way she spent her life in curiosity, exploring social justice, general ideas, feeling, art, some of which you see out in the hall there. And I'll tell you that if any of you are interested at all in Jungian philosophy or Jungian philosophy or in mythology, please talk to me afterward. I'm sure I've got a book if you'd like in my garage. Her curiosity served her well. While there was hopes of possible future treatment, she was constantly planning for what she was going to do once she got better. She was still buying supplies for art right up to the end. She had all sorts of plans. We just finished a new art room for her. But once it became clear that there was going to be no future treatment, and that we were, quote, as the doctor said, looking at weeks to days, she accepted it with both grace and humor. And she made it as easy as possible for us in that process. We sent word out then to our 2 sons to come immediately. They came. And then we sent word out to her family, and they came. We were able to say goodbye. And in that process, we started collecting Lindsayisms. She was still obviously still there, and still her humor was quite going on. And they showed, I'm going to tell you 2 examples of the Lindsayisms that we collected. They exemplified her acceptance and her humor. her family, I said her family came in and were with us, her siblings and her cousin. They would come in and to say goodbye and to laugh and tell stories. And one point I walked in at the end of the weekend where they're going to be leaving, and her cousin, who almost her sister, the way they spent time together, was there talking to her, and as I walked in, and the cousin was tearfully saying, you know, maybe I'll come back in a week or two to see you. Lindsay's immediate response was, well, I hope not. I don't plan to be here. She wasn't. That is acceptance. On the humor side, Lindsay always said she didn't like sarcasm, but she was really good at it. An example is when the kids were growing up, she always wanted to teach them that the word can is a statement of ability to do something, not a request for permission to do something, all right? So whenever, you know, one of the kids would say, you know, oh, can I have a cookie? Can I go outside? Her immediate response was, I don't know, can you? And so 2 nights before she passed, she had slipped significantly. She was sleeping most of the time. Even awake, we're not sure she understood what was going on, what was being said. So we knew it was coming. That night I lowered her hospital bed, lowered her to go, slid my air mattress as close as I could. And Lindsay never liked me touching her without saying something first. That surprised or shocked. She didn't like that. So as I started to raise my hand, I said, can I hold your hand? And without hesitation, and in a voice I hadn't heard for last week, I heard, I don't know, can you? And I spent that whole night thinking that was going to be the last thing she ever said. Anyway, that was Lindsay. She accepted it with grace and humor. And we'll miss her.
I'm Nikki. I'm Lindsay's daughter, the youngest of her 3 children. Her 2 other children cannot be here, but they sent me with things to read for them. The first one is nice and simple, and I'm not going to cry at all. The second one, you'll probably see me lose control for a little bit. The first one is from my oldest brother, Jason, who lives in Washington, D.C., and is an artist by trade. And he sent us he sent me a Shel Silverstein poem. It's Listen to the Mustn'ts. Listen to the mustn'ts, child. Listen to the don'ts. Listen to the shouldn'ts, the impossible, the won'ts. Listen to the never haves, and listen close to me. Anything can happen, child. Anything can be. This one is going to be hard. My brother Cody, who is in Michigan with his fiance, he was looking for a really wonderful poem that would remind him of her, and he couldn't come up with one, so he sent me with the things that he won't forget. The feeling of mom's lips, with all of the kisses, her final week. The smells of her room, even in her final weeks. that still smelled like her, always. The smell of her Prius, which was always the smell of her cars, even as we cleaned it out to give it away. Her hugs up until the end, even when she couldn't hug me. The light in her eyes, it was still hers, even as her body struggled. Can't even see the word. Even as her body struggled and her hands refused to cooperate, her smiles just keep creeping through all of the pain and drugs and confusion. Her physical response to good classical music, her conducting the orchestra, her smiles, her attempts to sing along with songs that she knew through her soul and my heart, her eager and prolonged kisses with Dad that showed no shame in deep longing and pride and love. Those are my brother's thoughts. These are mine. Thank you for coming today to celebrate the life of my mother, Lindsay Elizabeth, used to be a Dick, Korth. There's so much I would like to say about her, and there's a lot I could say. My mom was a powerful force in my life and my brother's lives. She was a force in this world and in the lives of those she touched. She valued self-reflection, compassion, social justice. This past year and so of social and racial unrest pushed her to explore further the inequalities of the BIPOC communities that she spent 50 years fighting for. She brought that conversation to the dinner table. She went to Black Lives Matter rallies in her wheelchair and took online classes to continue to learn about the life of privilege that she inhabited. She was a socialist through and through, believing that this country and this world cannot be healed until we stand up for the rights of everyone and fight for equality, even if it means some of us lose our privilege. That is what I see as my mom's public face: truth, fairness, and teaching, in hopes of creating a world that is equal. Privately, my mother struggled with insecurities, afraid of not being enough or being too much. For much of her life, she fought with her weight and her belief that she was not enough. She battled dieting fads for all of her adult life, struggling to find the magic way to keep her in her perfect body. This was her personal struggle, fueled by a lifetime of family expectations, failed parental support, and insane social standards. As she aged, my mom became more and more conscious of these outside forces that created her unrealistic sense of worth. She fought hard to pull herself to a place where she understood her own demons and where they came from. On her mirror is written, "This is what a body looks like." A statement that holds no judgment and places no value on the look of the body, merely acknowledging that a body is something that she and we all have, reminding her that her worth is far more than her physical form. I think in response to this personal struggle, she tried hard to engender a strong self-worth in her children, so that they did not have these same battles. It is something that she and I talked about often, and I will miss having her love and support as I continue to live and grow and age in this world with unhealthy standards for women. In the last 7 years, this war with her body took a new front as it betrayed her, turning on her in ways she never expected. No one in my family has had breast cancer. We've had other kinds of cancer, but this was not something that we or she thought she would have to fight. In this fight, she lost part of her breasts, part of her femininity, and for a while, part of her faith that she would live. As I said, my mother is a powerful woman, and she fought. She fought hard for 7 years of her life, for her place in this world. In that fight, she grew in so many new ways. She explored color and texture, symbols and images. She learned to embrace parts of herself that she had scoffed at for much of her life. She truly embraced her creativity and finally called herself an artist. Over these 7 years, she gained more and more belief in her own worth, and it was magical to witness. Many of my favorite childhood memories of my mother are centered around her beautiful creativity. Her painting and coloring, storytelling and singing, she fostered in all of her children a sense of possibility and love of art. She brought art to our lives in a million different ways, reading us the Tolkien trilogy when we were far too young to understand it, singing us to sleep every night. And I don't know where it came from, but growing up we had a huge roll of floral paper that she would roll out for every one of our birthdays and paint beautiful posters that were colorful and amazing, and they made us all feel so special. I think the role that my mother valued above all others was being a mother. She loved her 3 children unconditionally, saw each of us as smart and beautiful and strong. She taught us that love was the most important thing to have in life, to give it and to receive it openly and often. All of us are blessed with amazing friends, some that we've had for more than half our lives. She taught us that love is the thing that brings true happiness, and it is not a weakness to give it openly to the important people in your life. My brothers are not here to speak for themselves, but I will tell you that this room currently holds some amazing women that I know I have to thank her for. I struggled to figure out how to end this because I could go on for hours with memories of her that I would love to share. I can tell stories about her strengths and her flaws and her careers. At some point, she was starting to become a shaman. I can remember her smile and her beautiful singing voice. I have a story for every image that you will see in this slideshow, even if I was not there, and even if I was not born yet. I love my mother so much, and I will miss talking to her about my work, about the latest book we've read, the art that we have done. I know many of you will or have moments that will sting a little because you cannot share them with Lindsay. I will tell you that you should still share them with her. She believed that her energy was not dying with her physical form, that she was going to join the universe until she was ready to come back in a new life to learn something more. But time is not a straight line, and she is present around us, surrounding us in the love that she valued above all else. Share your love with her. Let her comfort you when you're having a hard day. She is here, she will be there, and she will continue to love all of us for the rest of time.
this point, we'd like to invite people who might be interested in sharing memories of Lindsay. I invite you to come up. Well, actually, why don't I do this? I will bring the microphone around to make sure that anyone who has mobility issues can still participate. So just raise your hand and I will do my best to find you. Would anyone like to begin? Don't be shy.
Hi, my name is Sophie, and we're actually neighbors of Lindsay and Patrick. And I first met Lindsay here when she was part of the Peace Task Force selling olive oil, Palestinian olive oil, and that was basically what our relationship was like. But about 4 years ago, Patrick and Lindsay joined our charades group. And so as you were talking about your mom, she really brought her creativity to that. It was always never a challenge about how she was going to act out, or equally enjoyed guessing. And we've done everything. We've been on the floor, we've done all kinds of animal creations, etc. We play, we have a potluck dinner and then we play charades. And we've been doing this at each other's homes. And during the pandemic, we played in our backyard, and then we even played on Zoom. And we just started getting back together again, and hopefully we'll be continuing. Our next group is actually at Patrick's house next week. And so Lindsay just brought a lot of creativity, and she was an old school charades player. I thought, we've been playing for 40 years, so we always warn people coming in that this is a group that's been in existence. But not for Lindsay and Patrick. They came in with their own clues and ways of doing things, and it really enriched our group. And it's made me really appreciate over this past year that how we are all impacted by everybody who passes through and touches our lives in many different ways.
Hi, I'm Nikki's cousin, Emily. I have a memory, like when I was sitting here, the first thing that I was thinking of, I was thinking, I haven't met Lindsay too many times. But my memory is from Nikki and Sarah's wedding, and I remember being out on the dance floor and feeling some force just kind of like bumping against me. And I was just like, oh, someone's accidentally bumping me, it's no big deal. I kept dancing, and like behind me, like big bumps. And then like I turn around and it's Lindsay, and she's smiling, and she's just like running into me and like pushing me. And I was just like a mixture behind like, okay, between this is fun and what the heck is happening? I punched her down, and she ended up on the floor. And I was like, oh shoot, I really did it now. And I look around and her entire family is standing there looking at her laughing. And I knew like, okay, this is gonna be an easy group to, be around. So that's my, I think, biggest memory with Lindsay.
Thank you. I'm Dee. I belong to the church. And I had seen Lindsay and Patrick for quite a while when I attended services, but I really didn't know either one. And then I had an invitation from a mutual friend to join her soul collage group, which I had never heard of. And she turned on a whole world to me. I never heard of it, I never saw this art before. It was extremely meaningful to me to get to know her on a deeper level and to get to know parts of myself that I didn't know even existed. So she became an important part of my life and will always be in my heart. Thank you.
I'm Jenny Lee, and Tom and I are also charade people. And the one thing that really impressed me from moment one is when Patrick and Lindsay got together with our charades group the first time. And Lindsay swooped in, gave me a big hug, like I'd known her for decades. And I don't think I've ever had quite that experience before, but that was just beautiful.
Hi, I'm Dory. I'm Sarah's mom. And I have to say, I feel so sad that I did not know Lindsay longer. And I've been thinking a lot about her these last few months. And remembering the times we have had together, she and I, as mothers of the brides, got together fairly well, several times, frequently, for lunch. And Lindsay always had this bright, happy smile, a twinkle in her eye, and we talked about everything. Of course, we talked about our daughters, but we talked about just everything. And she enjoyed her octopus dish when we met at her favorite restaurant. And making cookies together at Christmas time, her sense of humor, all those things that Nikki was recounting, so true and so evident. I just wish I knew her longer.
My name's Pat, and I didn't know Lindsay for very long. I met her primarily as a colleague therapist, and we were studying some stuff together and slowly got to know her more. And she was the one who introduced me to the concept of using nonviolent communication techniques with couples, which is so appropriate. And it is something that I continue to use, and every time I'm using the materials that she shared with me, I'm thinking of her. And also every time I have roasted Brussels sprouts now. She was the first one I ever had, so I always think of her there too. Somebody I wish I had a chance to spend more time with too.
Hello, my name is Ange, friends of Mickey. I just want to say that I've met Lindsay a couple times, and just what a sweet, humble person she was, and that she raised an amazing family, and that I know that she'll always be around. Just a very nice, sweet person, very, very nurturing kind of person.
Hi, I'm Erica. I've been friends with Nikki for about 20 years, and I've known Lindsay for about 20 years. I think this year might have been the first Thanksgiving that I spent 20 years ago with the family. but over the past 20 years have shared many memories with Lindsay and her entire family. Through Nikki, I've gotten to know, of course, Lindsay, Patrick, Cody, and Jason, and have always felt welcomed by Lindsay. And over the past 20 years, growing up, I've had my ups and downs, and Lindsay has always been accepting and welcoming growth as a person. I think that she would always look for the best in a human being and accept and find a way to comfort you. Whether it was teaching me how to play euchre, looking at the difference between regular sea salt and Himalayan salt, playing mall talk on a Thanksgiving Eve. She always invited everyone into her family and considered everyone family, and she'll be greatly missed for that.
Or perhaps one or two more.
Hi, my name is Meryl. I knew Lindsay through the group she did called Soul Collage, and that meant about once a month. It was about 6 to 10 people, and it was a time that we used images and markers and glue and scissors and created personal collages. That was an act of individual creativity, and then we shared them as a group, and in that way we found ways of healing and growing.
For all the memories spoken aloud, and for all those that remain in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts, we give thanks.
This is the celebration song.
Thank you, Joe and Jesse, for that. That's wonderful. At this time, I would like to pose a toast. Don't you all have a glass of champagne in your hand? And remember, as the song says, it's true that you are touched by something. We're touched by living. So, curiosity.
Thank you again to everyone for being here. You are invited to greet the family outside, and then everyone is also welcome to join the family back at their house for the reception, and the address is on a little card on the table. So thank you again for coming, and may all of us carry Lindsay on our hearts, the gifts she brought to this world, the gifts that remain with us, even now as she is among the ancestors. Blessed be.